I'd like to invite some other people up to the stage now for our final panel discussion. Ian Snipper, he's the head of online for Avoca Handweavers. He's very welcome. We've got Dervilla Mullan, the Chief Product Officer of micro multinational business Brandtone.ie. We also have Darren Grant, the founder and MD of multi-award winning OrganicSupermarket.ie. Looking forward to hearing what he has to say. And finally then we have John Horkan from Horkans.ie. So a big round of applause for our panel, if you would. Ian, we might start with you. Just in terms of what you heard there from Jorij, really a lot of stuff happening, you know, in a global way. Businesses like your own, again, you've seen the multinational come into your lives now with Aramark and all that, but in terms of being where the consumer is, how does that work for your business?
Well, I mean, it's, I suppose it's a process, I mean, we're very fortunate because we have a lot of global visitors coming to visit our stores, and then they come to our website after that anyway. So that allows us then to expand. We see what markets, for example, that are already working, and we can expand there. You know, I think it's, for me, I believe that online, it's very much a journey of small steps. And, you know, I think you talked earlier about the commercials. You've got to make a profit ultimately, you know. So I think that for, if you're serious about online expansion, then I think the CEO, or at least a senior principal of the business, needs to be involved. You know, a lot of businesses that I've heard of, SMEs, who have done well online, they've had the CEO has often, you know, given some of his duties to other people so that they can actually take the time to get involved. And they need to understand the fundamentals of the digital landscape that they're involved with. Okay. And I think a lot of Irish SMEs, business leaders, they're not necessarily that comfortable. Yeah. And you have to dive in, you have to get comfortable, because otherwise, you know, you're not going to be able to make the strategic decisions that need to be made. You can't, you know, you can't leave that to marketing people, to technical people, or, you know. So
what you're saying is that, you know, as an SME owner, that you really can't farm it out to somebody else. That you've got to, even if you're not comfortable digitally or technically, you still have to assume some ownership.
Exactly. I mean, I think the very basic, you know, the basic line I would have is, you need to be able to understand Google Analytic report at a high level. You know, that's the basic tool for nearly any online business. Where's our traffic coming from? What are our conversion rates? You know, what's that? In other words, what's working? What's not working? How can we improve? But if you, as the business owner, don't understand that, you know, you're kind of flying blind.
Sorry, Ian, I should have asked you to introduce your business. I knew you, and I took it for granted, so maybe you might just tell us before we move on about your business, and it's a fantastic business, Avoca Handweavers.
Sure, well, yeah, Avoca is a retail food business with about 10 stores in Ireland, and we also have a manufacturing mill, which is one of the oldest in the world, going back to 1723. And we're in the early stages of our online development, but we do have customers all over the world. Okay. At this stage.
Thanks for that. Thanks. Let me introduce Dervilla Mullan. She's the Chief Product Officer with Brandtone.ie. Dervilla, you're very welcome. You might tell us a little bit about Brandtone firstly.
Sure. Well, Brandtone is a mobile marketing platform which it helps some of the largest brands in the world connect with both the shops and consumers who buy their goods in the developing markets. So big brands see a lot of their growth, nearly 100% of their growth, coming from about 10 to 15 developing and emerging markets that have about half the world's population. And what they want to do is build connections and relationships with them differently, and primarily with direct relationships using mobile and digital as the communications channel. So we help them do that. Okay,
so you're helping people effectively embrace this explosion in mobile. Because again, for a lot of people it's quite daunting. How do I actually get a slice of this absolutely exploding pie? And that's your business.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose what's very interesting about these markets is, you know, they're not all at the digital forefront. You've got the likes of, you know, China, where, you know, they are incredibly sophisticated in terms of that digital ecosystem, and platforms like WeChat that let brands have sophisticated e-commerce relationships with consumers. But you've also got places like India where, you know, smartphone penetration is less than a third, and their route to market for their goods is actually 90% through informal trade, which are independent shops. So you have to be able to use mobile there using a feature phone.
Okay.
So you actually have to get very inventive around how you use messaging and voice as a way to build a relationship with the person who's going to choose your brand of nappies over the other brand.
Okay, really interesting. We'll be back to you in a second. Let me introduce Darren Grant, founder and MD of multi-award-winning OrganicSupermarket.ie. Tell us a little bit about your business, Darren.
Well, my name is Darren. I sell food. In about 2008, I was working for a multinational. Really liked my job, but decided, you know what, I want to do something else. So I quit a very senior role, and people said, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to go into retail. We opened in July 2008. About August 2008, the entire economy went into recession, and I highly regretted my decision. But we reacted quickly, and in 2009, we put our business online. So we went from 4,000 people market in Blackrock to 4 million people overnight by e-commerizing ourselves. Now we have our e-commerce business, we have 3 stores, and our own kitchen brand. So we employ 32 people, and we're the largest independent organic food retailer.
Fantastic. John Horkan. John, I know you of old, but you might introduce yourself to our audience here if you would.
Hi, my name is John Horkan. I'm the CEO and part owner of Horkans Group. We're a family business in the retail business. I grew up in the supermarket, the grocery, and you've seen huge change in it. And in the 80s, my family transformed, and myself and my brothers took over the business from our father. And we left the supermarket, the grocery business behind, and we developed a chain of garden centres. So we have 4 garden centres across the country, and we have 9 pet stores. And the pet stores are petworlddirect.ie. And I think one of the things you talked about earlier is about us having to differentiate our business. And you know, you look at figures like this, and you can say in Amazon, there's a huge change in retail. But retail has always changed, and I think we're just going into a new level of it. And one of the areas that we've started doing is looking at developing our own products. And for instance, we've launched a product called Zero. You'll get it on Horkans.ie. And if anybody has moss in their garden, it's the bee's knees to get rid of it.
There you go, folks.
But we've been in the garden business for 30 years. And I suppose one of the things when I started learning and, you know, being a part owner, probably 6 years ago, I said, look, I need to get my head around the internet. Retail is changing, and I knew that if we don't start moving, we won't be here in 10 years' time. And I got involved in Retail Excellence, which you talked about earlier, their e-commerce group there. And I really advise people to get involved in the Internet Association, Retail Excellence. Get to meet people who've already on this journey. We're on this journey. We're probably down the road ahead of, you know, some people, but there are others ahead of us and there are others behind us. So, you know, working together, we'll able, I think, be successful, and there's a huge market out there that we can go after.
Thanks, John. Jorij, just to get your views here, Dervilla aside maybe because she provides a sort of consultancy solution, but if we take about the types of the other 3 businesses that we have here up on the stage, you know, John is in the garden business, Darren is in the organic food business, and Ian then is in the food and beverage business as well. Do you see different solutions within different, I suppose, marketplaces?
Yes. I mean, it's not that online is going to take everything. I think for many SMEs, it's crucial that the consumer can find you online, but you don't necessarily have to put all your products online, because that's might not even be the right solution for you. I think the previous speakers emphasized the most important thing is, and that's delivering a great experience to your customers, and that has been retail for ages. But what is, I think, different is that the pace of change is different. And in the Netherlands, what even the largest retailers are noticing is that the investments are so huge to really meet the standards players like Amazon are creating, is that they are working together now. And like the expert group of product data sharing, okay, maybe we should do this together in order to survive, or maybe we can together create a more efficient supply chain, or maybe we can create a shared loyalty plan to be successful. And I think apart from changing our own company, working together is part of the solution.
I think that's a good point. Ian, just to bring you back in, is there any specific sort of e-commerce tools that you use in your business in Avoca Handweavers that maybe you'd like to tell us about?
Well, we're actually sort of re-platforming as soon as the Christmas busy period is over. So actually we're looking at a lot of tools that are out there. So I wouldn't have anything specific in mind other than to say it's been a very interesting experience. The advance in what's out there in the range, and there are some incredible tools. And I think now when you look at a website, if you're serious about doing online business, you need to have some kind of integrated, platform where you can do your marketing, your stock control, etc. And they're readily available at all kinds of price points. Yeah. So you need to do your homework essentially. Sure. I think
Dervilla, the mobile marketplace. Are you guys of the view that it's all going to be mobile? Is that where we're actually headed? That it's just everybody's going to, and Jorij there talk about a third device, but that the device is going to be part of you rather than being fixed to your kitchen or your study or your office.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to constantly evolve, and it's by no means only mobile. And I think even the term mobile first now is sort of seen as, looking at it from the wrong perspective. It's about looking at it from the customer or the user, and then seeing what devices and what technology can facilitate an amazing experience. But mobile is massive in the markets we work with, because often we're reaching hard to reach communities who don't have access to any other type of infrastructure. There is no retail infrastructure. There is no even kind of traditional media. So, as an example, we're working with the Gates Foundation around how we can provide access about, health information to women in sub-Saharan Africa through mobile. And initially, it's only, as I said, through 2G mobile technologies. So the opportunity to evolve that using artificial intelligence and some of those things, and an Alexa in an Echo type environment in the long term is there. But it's about knowing what stage your consumers are at, and knowing what adds to their experience and their with you.
Darren, the experience around, I suppose, the supermarkets and the online shopping has been mixed. I think the participation in the UK is higher than it is in Ireland. Why is the consumer maybe not engaging in terms of their weekly shopping like we would have expected to them when we see all the data?
Yeah.
But there doesn't seem to be that gravitation.
So part of what I did, that was a bit of research into, like our first website that we had. It was multi-award winning. It was great. We were winning awards, but it wasn't selling that much. We had a lovely flash experience on the front. So we won 4 awards, and I shut it down 2 years ago, and I relaunched a new website. Right. I reshot all the food with really appealing images, not the white background that was a few years ago, but textured images. But my market research led to 2 key points, and it was back to other speakers. You go out and you ask your customers. Their concern was over freshness and delivery, because they found that there was this old pre-notion that we'd go around the shop and we'd pick the stuff that's nearly going off and we'd send it off on the internet. So as soon as you go onto my website now, it says, we promise freshness, we promise next day delivery for the whole country. So we adapted straight away by saying, it looks great, but what does the customer want? What can we deliver? And we guarantee then, we put it out and we put it in writing and said, if you're not happy, because they will take to social media with the pictures of the odd delivery that goes wrong, we will honor our product and we will stand over it. So I think It is changing. People never used to shop for groceries online, but now they're so time poor that if we can deliver what we say we deliver, and if we keep our promise, that they'll come back for more.
Was one of the reasons that it wasn't very profitable for the big multinationals, that it actually suited them not to encourage that channel because it was more profitable if the consumer came to store, but now they're realizing that you can't keep swimming against the tide?
Yeah, I think a lot to do with too is logistics as well, is how do you deliver? Like we deliver same day service in Dublin, next day to the rest of the country, because of outsourcing, and this has only come about in the last 10 years, instead of trying to do everything in-house. I think that the big supermarkets, like we were online before SuperValue, and I had 6 employees in Blackrock, and I was winning prizes for online retailing, and SuperValue have this budget, and we were winning prizes for social media. I think that they're only realizing now that old-fashioned retail, it will still be there for food. People like to pick up and smell an apple, but if they trust the product and they trust the retailer and they know it's reliable, they'll come back.
Okay. John, could I ask you about, particularly garden type products, do you see online and in-store as 2 different businesses, or do you see it as one business?
Well, a very interesting question, because when we, I suppose, first looked at the online, we were in the recession. We were looking at it, as another sales channel that we could use. But I think very quickly, and we had just built our first website, and we got an award for it. But as we were actually being presented the award, we were changing it.
Right.
We knew it was actually wrong for our business. And we took the wrong channel. We went on a very kind of sales and discount, buy it cheap. And it was the wrong thing, because it didn't connect with who we were as a business or who our customers were. We had built up a very good trust with our customers over 30 years. And I suppose with the pressure of the recession, we went down a sales route. So we changed that, and we decided to focus on, well, what is it that the customer wants? And it's totally focused around their needs and their wants.
Okay.
And I think that's the really important for any business. It's actually understanding, what makes you different, what's special about you, and what the customer wants. And I think it is as simple as going out and talk to your customers every day, listen to them, and try to build your online experience like it is in store. And that's where I try to do it, is the experience they're getting when they walk through the front door of our store.
Create that online.
Create it online.
Okay. We'd love to hear from you from the audience, folks. We have a roving mic if anybody'd like to ask a question. We've got a really good panel up here. There's a lady down here at the back of the room. Yes? How are you?
Hi,
you might
I'm
introduce
good,
yourself
you.
if you would.
My name's Annette Burns-Young, and our business is EU Mum, which is Ireland's biggest parenting community. We support mums through pregnancy, or women through pregnancy, right through to growing families, and we also support them in terms of post-baby work options, in terms of content. So my question's for Dervilla. I was very interested in your business, hearing about Brandtone, and I wonder, do you support small brands rather than just the larger brands? I think you were introduced to supporting the large brands, because we're seeing a growing number of businesses set up by mums because they see a need for particular goods in the market, etc. And obviously global is an opportunity for them.
Yeah, so we do.
Thank you.
It's a great question, and I'm a big fan. I use that at a certain phase of my life a lot, so love your work. And it is all about understanding, your target audience, which I think you guys do brilliantly. So yes, we do. Our kind of primary commercial focus at the moment is still the big brands, because one of our big advantages is, I suppose, the scale we reach. But we also do work with a group called Vital Voices, that are a group especially around empowering women who want to actually become entrepreneurs and actually succeed in these markets. So we've done a number of projects with women who are at the early stages of their business, and they use our platform to connect with their audiences, their target sectors, be it for just lead generation if they're a service provider, but also for full transactions when they're more of a product-based company. So, we can have a chat afterwards, but our primary clientele is probably the bigger brands who are really going after these markets fully. But I suppose what we've learned and why we're now helping these other women is, as a lot of the speakers have said, you can, with a much smaller budget, have an impact once you understand these different markets, because they are very different. Audiences engage with different types of mobile platforms. They have different expectations from user experiences, and they also value different types of benefits and rewards. So we would often use reward as a way to get the target consumer to share some information about themselves. So in some countries, that's about giving them airtime for their phone, because actually their prepaid phone is the most important thing to their household. And then in more affluent areas, women might want, vouchers for e-commerce or experiences. But what they'll do is they'll very much then exchange information back to us, and we can use that then to provide them with more relevant experiences. And we share that with our clients so they actually understand their target segments better.
Okay, thanks for that. Good question and good answer too. Anybody else? Yeah, I think we've one here over on the right. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Jeff Sheridan from a digital agency here in Dublin called Matrix Internet. Just wanted to say I commend the IDR because I think they're very passionate about Irish business and succeeding. I have a question for Jorij. The big thing that I see from our clients is that they have great products, and what we would do as an agency is try and create great retail experiences. But how would we advise our clients to get to the maybe 3 billion people who will enter the middle class in India, the Far East, etc.? So how would we get Irish businesses into those markets?
Well, first of all, I mean, going to these markets is maybe a very big step, especially the Indian market. If you're helping your customers, then I think the most important thing to first explain to them how the markets are changing. That a nice Dutch example is we have a web shop selling socks, just gentlemen's socks. It's called gentlemensocks.nl. And they are now having a fierce competitor from Germany who sells socks, only also gentlemen's socks. So first thing is that your customers need to be aware of the way the market is changing. And then the second step is to say, okay, what is going to be your proposition? And it can be a local proposition. You don't have to go global. But the most important thing is fix your proposition, create value with all the new technologies, the different markets settings, the different consumer demands. And if you have it right in Ireland, then go global. And maybe not to India first, because that's a challenging market, but the UK or the Netherlands. You're very welcome.
Okay, thank you for that. We'll take one more question. Have we anybody else? Yes, we've one man here in the white and navy t-shirt. Thank you.
Sorry, Alan Carey from FCR. It's probably more directed at Ian here, but I'm just wondering, what kind of blockers did you hit when you went from Ireland to other countries, you were saying?
What kind of blockers? Well, I think, to be honest, I'm probably not going to give you a great answer, because I think Avoca is very fortunate in that we've got sort of fanatical following, and so our customers put up with a lot. People talked about frictionless, today still our service isn't where we'd like it to be, but yet we sell. And our customers are constantly telling us what we should do to improve, but yet they don't leave us. So obviously, payment is, if you're going to enter China, if you're going to enter, it's about localizing. It's about what has been talked about, personalizing the experience for the customer in the way they want it in that particular market, and that's, it's just bit by bit doing that, that would be my answer. Thanks.
Thank you, Ian. Okay, folks, I'd just like to thank our panel, Jorij Abraham, Ian Snipper from Avoca Handweavers, Dervilla Mullan from Brandtone, and Darren Grant from OrganicSupermarket.ie, and my old friend John Horkan. So thank you all very much for a great discussion.